I was all bandaged up, and I've actually got the last bandage I had on my neck, because that was the biggest piece of shrapnel. I've got a little bandage that a bunch of soldiers and the medics signed, that I still got in a little plastic bag. That's one of my prized possessions. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do something cool that I can remember. You know, try to make something.
Make positive out of a negative.
Make positive out of a negative, something I can just remember that, hey, look at the stupid thing I did after I was blown up. But it's something that's always going to be with me. You know, it stays in my gun safe, so it's one of those things that is one of a kind.
Yep.
The thing is, I had the college degree, so I came in as a private first class in E3, so we got hammered by the drill sergeants a little bit more because we had rank over some of the others. So that was, we had a lot of guys that were private first class E3s that were taking their rank off their lapels, because back then we used to wear them on the lapels. They'd take it off there, say, well, I'm not going to get, and the drill sergeant see the little 2 holes from the pegs, and where's your rank, private?
Yeah.
So we, you know, it wasn't too bad. End up hitting the subway north of Seoul a ways, and you could ride the subway forever. It just cool stuff. We saw the Olympic Stadium down there with the Olympic rings. I think the Olympics was there in 2000. Is that what year it was? Yeah, 2000. So it was pretty cool. It was, you know, right after the Olympics and that. So I'm gonna try to get through this statement without getting too political, but we do live in the greatest country in the world, and we've still got great people in this country, and I've seen the best and worst of things. Mortaritaville was about the most dangerous place on the planet for the year we were there. And I think back to this, I had the head injury, the neck injury, so we weren't allowed to wear our Kevlar pots. And I remember driving with them back to the camp thinking, what the hell happens if we get blown up? I'm not wearing a Kevlar pot, and I'm thinking, should I be? Because we didn't have any of that stuff with us. You know, now, as the years have gone on, the country has learned more about these issues that these soldiers have with PTSD and TBI. But back then, everything was brand new. Now we've got a lot more men and women that have been in this global war on terrorism to Iraq or Afghanistan that are out there, so things are more widely known. And at this time, it was all new to everybody. And
I agree.
And you know, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, they're like, "Oh, they got that shrapnel out," or "Did they take that shrapnel out?" I say, "No," and people are so shocked by that the shrapnel's still in my body, and it would take so much, surgery and that to remove this stuff, that it's not worth trying to take it out, because it would make it worse. And it's in there, and it is what it is. And that's one thing I don't think people realize, is people are complaining about, oh, my latte's too hot, or they didn't put the foam on this, or the whipped cream on this. We take for granted a lot of things, and it seems like there's a lot of people in this country that are complaining about this country, and they have no clue what it's like to be in one of these other countries. And our country is the greatest country on earth. And the big thing is freedom is not free. St. Croix Rods is one of those companies that is almost like the unicorn of fishing rods. It's that mystical thing, that name that resonates with the best rods on earth. At least it is when I think about it and say it. And to be able to get hooked up with St. Croix, and to be on their pro staff and be a full-time guide fishing with the greatest rods on earth it's a dream job. It's still a job, but it's a dream job. And I enjoy being a fishing guide. I do all species. I love taking families out, kids out, people from 6 to 60, 8 to 80. And it's great being able to do all species. You get all kinds of different genres of people, and you're out in Mother Nature. You can look at the deer on the shorelines when you're out on these lakes in the spring. the little fawns that are hopping around playing. You can watch the eagles fly through the air and sit up in the tallest pine tree off of a point and do their little squeal squawk. You get to be out in fresh air, and it just makes you appreciate the things that the men and women have done to keep our country free. And I enjoy being able to give back to the people that I helped serve and protect, and giving back to the veterans that have put themselves in harm's way as well. We got in the Black Hawk, and I had a buddy that I still talk with now. He lives in New York City. He got hit right in the elbow, so I was sitting there holding my IV bag. Or no, I was holding my neck like this, and I was holding his IV bag up because he couldn't bend his arm.
Wow.
And he remembers just me having bandages all over the place, and I told this officer, this whatever he was, I said, I'm walking. He said, get the F, sit down. He said, sit the F down in here, you're not walking. Okay. And I think the hole is about the size of a thumbnail in my neck. So that piece was about the size of a marble that went in there. That's gonna tear a lot of stuff up.
Yeah.
And it's jagged, and it's almost like a kidney stone. They shouldn't call it a stone, they should call it a razor blade.
Yeah.
It's because and it's the same thing with the shrapnel. It's sharp and
Yeah.
metal just, that just explodes. There's times when we had to do work just outside of the gates. I remember one of our big forklifts got a bunch of concertina wire wrapped around the axle. It was a mess, and I had to go out there and cut it with a cutting torch, and I ended up getting a piece in my eye, and it was a mess. But you got two guys guarding you there that are on your team, and you're out there up underneath this forklift hoping that something doesn't come flying in. When we first got there, we had to be very careful because there was a lot of UXOs, or unexploded ordnance, there. There was also weapons and guns and stuff from the Iraq-Iran war back in the 80s in there, so it was pretty bad stuff that we had to really be careful when we first got there. And we'd have EOD come in and blow some of this stuff up that was in the ground. You just had to be careful where you walked. And what they started doing is they'd have gunners on these Humvees, and you'd get underneath the bridge, and they'd have a decapitation wire set up underneath this bridge made to decapitate the gunner. There's just a cable across there. So what we started doing is the grills on the front of the Humvees, we'd take the old fence posts that had the little notch up on top of them, and we cut little notches and sharpen the notches. We put those on the grill of the Humvees, so they'd cut these wires as they were driving down the road. So what the enemy started doing next is tying IEDs to both sides of these, one or both sides of these wires, so when there was any tension on these wires, it would just blow towards the Humvee. So you talk about not fighting a fair war, you can try to readjust for what they're doing, but they're just gonna keep readjusting. One of the sergeants, I'm down at the medical tent, and he's down there helping, and I remember kicking him on the back of the leg saying, hey Sergeant, I'm not gonna be able to help you tomorrow. And he came over and kind of just did a tap on my good side, and it was kind of one of those things where I was trying to be a little bit funny with stuff, like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to help you, and at times just a little bit of that helps with the courage of it being, and I don't really want to call it a sense of humor, but it really helps to keep me calmer. She's learned the things that set me off, whether it's awake or asleep. She knows if something's going on in bed. And if she's not sure, if I start kicking or doing something, or start flailing my arms or start shaking, she knows right away to wake me up to make sure I'm awake and that I'm okay.
There's a couple more things I want to give you. You and I talked about our love for Wiley X and their brand.
Wow.
Here's a new pair of Wiley X sunglasses for you. As you know, they were born on the battlefield. And,
yes, they were.
And then last but not least, I want to give you this this nice dog tag here that was made by Montana Silversmiths. I'm going to let you read this, but there's a story behind it. It's something that I hope that you'll remember us by, and also the Beyond Valor Foundation, who's a big supporter of Operation Healing Heroes and Take It Back Fishing and veterans like yourself. And one last thing, I keep saying one last thing. SKB cases wants to give you this this nice muskie case also for you to
Wow.
buy more muskie lures, because you know how we are, us muskie nuts.
Yeah,
we can't have empty tackle boxes, so we got to go buy stuff to fill it up.
This
So
is,
thank you so much.
I didn't
Appreciate
expect
it.
any of this.
Well,
But
it's
it's hard
the least
to
we could do.
accept stuff like this. But thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.